We are in a weird, wild, increasingly dangerous world. And I was shocked by the videos from this weekend. I actually, it takes a lot to shock me, but I saw them and assumed it was Europe, and it wasn't. It was Los Angeles. Hamas supporters waving Palestinian flags showed up outside a Jewish synagogue, congregation Torah, and the Jews were attacked. Congregation Torah, that means Congregation of the Bible in Los Angeles. Noah Pollack, who I know, who writes for Commentary and The Free Beacon, is written at National Review, he was there for an event. Let me read you his tweet. The LAPD let the Hamas supporters take over the sidewalk in front of the shul and block its entrance. In fact, LAPD had formed a cordon around the front of the building to keep Jews out and Hamas supporters in. I tried to enter with my kids through the front door and was turned away not by Hamas supporters, but by the Los Angeles Police Department. Anyone who wanted to attend had to use a secret back entrance. The mayor and police department are an absolute disgrace. It's clear the police had been instructed to help the Democratic Party's street animals do their thuggery. They were definitely not there to protect the right of Jews to enter their shul. In fact, other people who were there said the Los Angeles Police Department allowed terrorist supporters to occupy both sides of the synagogue outside of it, while Jewish counter-protesters were prohibited. Only a narrow protected lane allowed access, and people had to go through the back door. It's not Black Americans in the 1940s and 50s having to go through back doors. These are Jews in Los Angeles in 2024 having to go through back entrances of buildings, not allowed through the front door. Now, this is notable because Vice President Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Emmer, is the first Jewish second gentleman. He's the first second gentleman of the United States. He's also Jewish. And he had this to say in an interview.
She's the toughest person out there.
She's tough.
Oh, she's so tough. It just bounces right off of her.
And as for second gentleman Doug Imhof, he is not California dreaming. Do you ever think, well, if things don't work out, we could always move back here and be just fine?
We're going to win this election. We have to win this election. Literally, our country and our world depends on us winning this election. That's what's going to happen.
Doug Imhof, first Jewish second gentleman. Doug Imhof says we have to win this election. We have to. Our history, the world depends on us winning this election. He's in California, where Jews are literally being hunted in the streets by progressive activists on Joe Biden's side. And he thinks that Joe Biden needs to win the election. For what? So Jews can be hunted more ruthlessly? That's what's happening here. This is, it's wild to see. I can't actually play you the video of it because the profanity would come over the microphone. It is wild. And the Los Angeles mayor, and her statement, she says it's abhorrent and unacceptable, but I want to read for you the statement. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass today issued the following, quote, today's violence in the Pico Robertson neighborhood today was abhorrent, and blocking access to a place of worship is unacceptable. I've called on LAPD to provide additional patrols in the Pico Robertson community, as well as outside of homes of worship throughout the city. I'll be meeting with Chief Coy tomorrow to further address the safety of Angelenos. This wasn't outside houses of worship. It was outside a synagogue exclusively. They were not outside a Mormon tabernacle. They were not outside a Baptist church. They were not outside a mosque. They were outside a Jewish synagogue. Today's violence blocking access to a place of worship, they were blocking Jews from going to synagogue. She's going to station additional patrols outside houses of worship. There's only a couple of them you have to station police outside of, except it was the police who were enabling Hamas to do this. That's left unsaid in Karen Bass's statement, is that it was the police who were making Jews go through back doors, prohibiting Jewish counter-protesters in violation of their constitutional rights, I might add, from being present and allowing Hamas to surround the building. She says in her second paragraph, I want to be clear that Los Angeles will not be a harbor for anti-Semitism and violence. Those responsible for either will be found and held accountable. I'll be joining Councilwoman Kati Yaroslavsky, the Chief Executive Officer of the Jewish Federation, Los Angeles, Rabbi Noah Farkas, and other law enforcement and faith leaders in a community meeting as we talk about steps forward together. Merrick Garland and Joe Biden are prosecuting wheelchair-bound grandmothers for praying at abortion clinics. They're not prosecuting people for blocking Jews from entering synagogue. They are prosecuting and actually sending to jail wheelchair-bound grandmothers in their 70s who prayed at abortion clinics. Alvin Bragg, the district attorney in New York, has dismissed all charges against all anti-Semitic protesters who stormed into and took over the Hamilton building on Columbia University's campus. Not a single one of them will be prosecuted, though they trespassed, vandalized, and held hostage a building, and those inside the building could not get out. He's not going to prosecute him. He prosecuted Donald Trump. He made up some charges, concocted a story that the left wants to believe because they hate the man so bad. They found him guilty before a judge who gave money to Joe Biden into a fund that said stop Donald Trump, but they won't actually prosecute the anti-Semitic protesters who trespassed into a building, vandalized it, and wouldn't get out of it when Columbia asked them to. They dropped all charges. In Los Angeles, I'm interested to see, do they actually prosecute these individuals? Will they actually arrest anybody? If it was outside an abortion clinic, you know they would. The video is horrific. And then there's this. This is caught on video. After the protests and the harassment at the synagogue, where when Jews left the synagogue, some of them were kicked, tripped, beaten, sprayed with pepper spray. This really happened, y'all. This happened in Los Angeles this weekend. Jews leaving synagogue were beaten up and pepper sprayed by Hamas supporters, and the police did nothing. The police did nothing. And those who fled were chased through the streets. There's video of it. We put in the show notes. Hezbollah and Hamas supporters hunted and bludgeoned Jews in the streets. They're hunting Jews in the streets. They're hunting Jews in the streets of Los Angeles, y'all. Never again is supposed to mean never again. When Donald Trump was president of the United States, the left had a big campaign. They said, punch a Nazi. Punch a Nazi, they said. They consider the right Nazis. MSNBC and CNN both did ad nauseum stories about the rise of alt-right violence and white nationalists on the right, and how the FBI says that the right is a growing terror threat. Even now, there's a story about the Department of Homeland Security classifying Trump supporters as the biggest domestic threat to national security in the United States, put together by a former head of the CIA. It's real hard to punch a Nazi when it's yourself and you're chasing a Jew in the streets. That's what's happening in Joe Biden's America. And by the way, there are political ramifications for this. There actually is a story out today in Politico that Joe Biden is starting to have concerns because there are warning signs showing up in the polling. This is not Politico, it's CNN. Alarm is rising in Democratic circles that the turmoil set off by the October 7th attack by Hamas and Israel's bloody war launched in response is becoming yet another weight on President Biden's reelection, with warning signs flashing over Jewish voter support for the President of the United States. For all the attention over how the Israel-Hamas war has endangered Biden's standing with Arab Americans and progressives who have taken up the cause of the Palestinians, Jewish Americans who make up enough of the population to have determinative effect in battleground states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, Georgia, Wisconsin, and Arizona have been scrambling too. The President of the United States today released a tweet. He's going to be unavailable to the public this week. He's in debate prep, which means they're adjusting his schedule and getting his meds right for debate. He tweeted, or someone on his behalf tweeted, that it was outrageous to see what happened at the synagogue in Los Angeles. He tweeted about it. He won't come out and publicly say anything unless he can also do but Islamophobia too. He tweeted about it. He's willing to arrest people who pray at abortion clinics, and he tweets about the meanies who pepper spray Jews at a synagogue. We're having Charlottesville on a daily basis, and the President of the United States is doing nothing. Near me is a cookie shop, Allie's Cookies. It's by Emory University. It's on North Decatur Road in Atlanta, Georgia. Allie's Cookies at Emory. The family immigrated from Israel. And after October 7th, they made clear their support for Israel. Hamas supporters have been harassing patrons of the business, trying to block access to the business, harassing the business. This is a Jewish-owned business, a cookie shop near Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. It's not just the progressive left on the West Coast or in New York City. In Atlanta, Georgia, a Jewish-owned cookie shop is being harassed and its patrons harassed by Hamas supporters. Don't say it's not happening in my backyard. This is my backyard. It's happening in my backyard with a large Jewish community, and yet this is happening to them in my backyard. It's happening around the country. And when you go on television and you listen to the news, they want to talk to you about how Trump supporters are a danger to national security. Jews are being beaten up and pepper sprayed on the way into and out of synagogues across America by progressive activists who Joe Biden is coddling. If it was an abortion clinic, all these protesters would go to jail, but it's a synagogue, so they get their charges dismissed by left-wing prosecutors. This should be unacceptable to everyone.